There were 5,000 men standing in front of Jesus. He turned to his apostles and asked them how they were going to feed them all. There's no doubt they were taken off guard by this question, but they immediately began to take an inventory of their resources, and they concluded that they didn't have enough money and they didn't have enough provisions to even come close. Jesus had asked them to do something seemingly impossible. They had evaluated their chances of accomplishing it, and they had realized that it was zero.
But of course, Jesus already knew that. So the question then becomes, well, why did he ask? John chapter 6 tells us that Jesus asked his apostles to test them.
When God asked them to do something big, where or to whom would they look? The text reveals that they looked to themselves. Maybe there's been a time in your life when you've recognized a need, something God would want you to do, but you evaluate the problem, you realize it's too big for you and your resources to accomplish. That discouragement can cause us to quit before we ever get started.
But in doing that, we reveal that we need to learn the same lesson the apostles learned here. The apostles needed to learn where their sufficiency was going to come from in their future work in the church.
Jesus instructed the 5,000 to sit down on the grass, and he proceeded to feed them all. The text says they had as much as they wanted. And at the end of the meal, Jesus instructed the apostles to gather the leftovers, and they had 12 baskets full. Before this meal, when Jesus had initially asked the apostles how they were going to feed the crowd, they immediately pointed out to him their insufficient resources. Now at the end of the meal, they found themselves gathering the leftovers of an abundance of resources. It would have been a lesson to them that God could take something that seemed insufficient and make it sufficient. And this is a lesson that's taught all throughout the Bible. God used many men to do great things who initially believed themselves insufficient. Moses had all kinds of excuses for why he wasn't the right guy to free the people from Egyptian slavery. Gideon said that he was the least of his family and that he couldn't deliver his people from the Midianites. And the apostles may have believed themselves insufficient to be leaders in the kingdom that their people had waited on for thousands of years.
What did all three of these Bible characters have in common? Well, for one, they were right. They were insufficient to lead in the ways that God called them to lead. Moses couldn't deliver the people from Egyptian slavery. God had to send the 10 plagues. Gideon couldn't save his people from the powerful Midianite army. God had to orchestrate that victory, and the apostles were insufficient to lead the early church until they received power from God in the form of the Holy Spirit.
They were all incapable. They were all underqualified. God was the one who gave them the ability to accomplish what they accomplished. And the question for application is, does this precedent end with the apostles? Is God done using insufficient men to accomplish amazing things? I don't see any reason to believe that. Maybe Jesus still places seemingly impossible tasks in front of us for the same reason he did it to the apostles, to test them, to discover where we believe our sufficiency lies. Is it in ourselves or is it in God? And maybe if we could learn the lesson Jesus is teaching the apostles here, we would be slower to calculate the odds based on our resources and quicker to calculate them based off of our God. Maybe it's more about being willing than being sufficient. Maybe God is looking for men and women who will start so that he can accomplish and finish great things through them. That's what he was looking for in Moses. That's what he was looking for in Gideon. That's what he was looking for in the apostles. And maybe that's what he's looking for in you.